What's going on, folks? Welcome to Study Hall. If it's your first time here, my name is Philip Godfrey. If you're returning, welcome back, Bible Study family. And so, Study Hall is a segment of weekly Bible study that's built off the scriptures in Matthew 36:33, where the Messiah tells us to seek ye first the kingdom of the Father and his righteousness, and all things shall be added unto you. So, we gather together to do just that, to see, seek, and serve the kingdom of the Father. All right. And so today we're going to be continuing a study series that we began at the top of the year entitled From Creation to Revelation, where we're walking through the entirety of the Bible, book by book and chapter by chapter in one calendar year. Today we are finishing that assignment with the last chapters of the book of Revelation, chapter 16 through 22. So today we'll be looking at Revelation chapter 16 through 22. If you want to catch any of the previous studies from any of this year, you can go to my page, and I can link it right here, somewhere near here. But it'll be on a playlist entitled From Creation to Revelation. We'll have every study that we have done book by book and chapter by chapter this year. All right. So let's go ahead and jump in. I'm excited to complete the assignment that the Father gave us for this year. Didn't think that we would get here, but here we are. All right, let's move into chapter 16. All right. And so, we have covered the first 15 chapters up until this point. And so there are some things that we'll be referencing back. All right. So if you haven't seen at least the previous study, Revelation chapters like 7 through 15, 8 through 15, go back and check that out. And even chapter 1 through 7 would help give some more color and clarity as well. But chapter 16. So today we're beginning here in chapter 16, and we see that John first states that he's hearing a voice in the temple say unto the seven angels that we saw in the previous study as we finished up. This voice is saying to these angels to go out and pour the bowls. They're holding bowls that are filled with the wrath of the Father, to pour those bowls out on the earth. The first bowl is this: the first angel goes and pours out their bowl, and the people on earth that had the mark of the beast and worshiped the image of the beast, they came down. Their body was filled with sores. They had sores all over their body. The second bowl, the next angel comes and pours their bowl upon the sea, and the water of the sea becomes like the blood of a dead man, and everything in the sea dies, according to the text. The third bowl, the third angel comes, pours the bowl out on the rivers and on springs of water, and they all became blood. So the difference here between the sea and the rivers and the flowing waters was that the flowing waters were able to be to drink. They're purified essentially. The sea waters are like ocean water, salt water, etc., and those aren't used for drinking as drinking sources. So the all the seawater, the non-drinking water, but where the animals primarily, the sea animals and whatever primarily live, that water was turned to blood, and also the rivers and the drinking water was turned to blood as well. After this third bowl, John hears an angel saying that the Father is righteous because he has judged the people of the earth in this way. For they have shed the blood of saints and the prophets, and now they are receiving blood to drink as wrath from the Father. So John is excited. John is hearing the people are excited because of how the Father is avenging himself, and even avenging the blood of those that have gone on in his name. All right. The fourth bowl, the fourth angel comes and pours out their bowl on the sun. And it says that the sun began to scorch people. So the sun began to throw so much heat and fire off of itself that the people of the earth began to burn. They began to become burned. And the people that this affected, because it didn't affect everyone, but the people that this affected, this plague essentially affected, they cursed the name of the Father and did not repent. All right, keep that in mind. The fifth bowl, the fifth angel comes, pours out their bowl on the throne of the beast. All right, so now this angel, the fifth angel, is pouring out this wrath directly onto, according to the text, the throne of the beast. And it says that the beast's kingdom was thrown into darkness, and those who followed the beast, they ground their teeth in pain and blasphemed the Father of heaven because of their pain. But it says they still did not repent. The sixth bowl, the sixth angel poured out the sixth bowl on the Euphrates River, and the river dried up, the Euphrates River dried up, so that the kings and armies from the east could march west for battle without any boundary. So now the Father is preparing the way for the battle that we know to be the Battle of Armageddon. I got a little ahead of myself. We'll see that in a second. From here, so this is the sixth bowl. We just saw the sixth bowl. But from here, after John sees the angel pour that out, he goes on to say that he saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. So the beast and the false prophet is the beast of the earth that we discussed in the previous study. So these spirits are the spirits of devils, according to John, who work miracles. So they are able to work miracles, demonic miracles, and go out and gather all the kings of the earth and of the world for the battle of the great day of the Father that we know that we call Armageddon. The Messiah then says after this that he is coming as a thief. That's something that we should keep in mind. All right. Let's move into the seventh bowl. All right. So the seventh bowl here, as the chapter ends, we see that the angel pours out the bowl into the air. And John hears a voice from the temple of heaven saying, "It is finished." There was thunder, lightning, a great earthquake, which divided the great city into three parts, and the cities of many nations fell. At this point, it says that the Father remembered Babylon and remembered her sins and made her drink the cup of his wrath. All the islands and all the mountains of the earth disappeared. Huge hailstones fell from the sky, and the people on earth that this affected, that these hailstones and whatever rained on, those people on earth blasphemed the Father because of the plague of hail. Can you imagine big old rocks of hail just falling out of the sky? Man, that's crazy. All right, chapter 17. Chapter 17 begins, and John sees one of the seven angels who he had just witnessed with the seven bowls. They come to him and tell him to come with them so that they can show him, so that the angel can show John the coming judgment of the great whore, which is Babylon. All right. John goes with the angel and sees a woman sitting on a red beast that had 7 heads and 10 horns, and this woman was covered in names of blasphemy against the Father. The woman, she's sitting on a red beast, but she's wearing red and purple. She was covered in gold and precious stones and pearls with a gold cup in her hand. This cup was filled with abominations and filthiness from her fornication. On her forehead was written the name Mystery Babylon the Great, mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. This woman, the text goes on to tell us, was drunk with the blood of the believers and the blood of the martyrs of the Messiah. John said that he stared at her with great admiration. And as he was admiring her, the angel asked, "Why are you admiring this woman?" And the angel offered to tell him about the woman and the beast that she was sitting on. So here is the angel's explanation of the woman and the beast. The beast that was seen, the angel said, was once alive, but at this point is not alive in the story as he's recounting the story. And soon that angel will come, the beast will come out of the bottomless pit and go into eternal destruction. The text in the King James says perdition. And all the people whose names are not written in the book of life, they will be amazed when they see that this beast has come back again, who they thought had died. This is interesting. The 7 heads of the beast are 7 mountains that this woman, so like 7 countries essentially, that this woman, mystery, who represents Mystery Babylon, the prostitute or the whore as the text calls her, rules over. These 7 countries or 7 mountains have 7 kings. 5 of those kings have already fallen. The 6th king is currently reigning, is currently in rule, and the 7th is coming, but his reign will be brief. The beast itself is the 8th ruler, is the 8th king, and like the previous 7, it will be headed to destruction as well. The 10 horns that were seen were 10 kings who have yet risen to power. So there are 7 leaders of the land, and then there's 10 kings. These 10 kings have not yet come into power. They will receive power briefly when the beast reigns. So as part of the 8th king, they will receive power as well. And they will all 10 of these kings will agree to give their power and their strength to the beast. These will all go now, all these, kingdoms, essentially, they will go and make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb will overcome them, for the text says that he is Lord of lords and King of Kings. Is that our decree today? The angel then goes and tells John that the waters where the woman ruled represent people, and the beast and the horns will, and the beast and the kings will hate the prostitute and cause her to be desolate and consumed with fire. So essentially, this beast, at some point, eventually, this beast is going to overtake this woman, and then she's going to become desolate. She's not going to have any rule anymore, and actually is going to be, burned with fire. The Father will use their plan, this plan of the beast, to overthrow this woman and come into power. The text says that the Father is going to use that plan, use the plan that is in their minds to fulfill his will and come against the beast and come against the woman and ultimately elevate the beast. So the elevation of the beast and the woman falling is actually the Father's will. And the Father he's orchestrating this by using the beast and their desires to actually bring his will to pass. This shows you that the Father still has everything in control. After this, in chapter 18, John says that he saw another angel come down from heaven who had been given great authority, and the earth became bright with the glory of this angel. The angel then shouted, "Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, the house of every foul spirit, the cage of every unclean bird." John then hears another voice from heaven shouting, saying, "Come out of her, my people." So this means that there are still some of his people here on the earth when all this is happening. He says, "Come out of Babylon, my people, and do not partake of her sins, and you will not receive any of the plagues that are coming for her." So now we see that there are still more plagues coming for Babylon as well. These plagues, the text tells us, are going to come on her, come on Mystery Babylon, which whatever everything that she represents is going to come on her in a single day. Death, mourning, and famine will come, and she will be burned with fire for the judgment of the Father. All the kings of the earth who have fornicated and dwelled in relationship with her, they will mourn her when they see her burning on fire. But the text says they will watch this from a distance. Even though they're in mourning, even though they were in community and relationship with her, they're not going to be close to her in that season. They're going to see this burning and keep their distance. It also goes on to say that the merchants of the earth, that this was like a business. There were people who were in business and in business relationship with this woman. The merchants of the earth will weep as well because she made these merchants rich. Babylon is giving out riches. She made the merchants rich, and now they are standing at a distance as well and terrified as they watch her being tormented. In a single moment, it all came crashing down for them. They were never expecting it. After this, a mighty angel took a big stone, threw it into the sea, saying, "Just like this stone was tossed into the sea, the great city of Babylon shall be thrown down and will not be found ever again." Think about that. The sea is so deep that an angel threw a large stone. They described it as large. I can only imagine how large a large stone is actually to an angel. Anyway, so they throw this large stone down into the sea, and they said it will never be found again. That's how deep the sea is. And so John says, just like that, this great city of Babylon will not be found ever again. The chapter closes. John hears the angel state that in the streets of Babylon was found the blood of the prophets, the blood of the believers, and all the people slain upon the earth. These deaths were attributed to Babylon. Let's move into chapter 19. In chapter 19, John first tells us that after all these things, he hears a multitude of people in heaven singing, "Hallelujah, salvation and glory, honor and power unto the Father. For true and righteous are his judgments, and he has avenged the blood of his servants." He then hears the 24 elders and the four beasts fall down, he sees them fall down in worship, and he hears them saying, "Amen, Alleluia." John then hears another voice of many, like a voice, like a multitude, but they were saying this as one, decreeing praise to the Father, the Lord God omnipotent, for he reigns. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife, the Lamb's wife, has made herself ready. John was then told to write this down, write, "Blessed are those which are called to the marriage supper of the Lamb." John falls at the feet of the angel and worships the angel. But the angel tells him not to do that because he is a servant of the Father just like him. So we should not be worshiping angels. John then goes on. He sees heaven open and a white horse with the Messiah sitting on it, or it says the rider at this point, but the rider was called Faithful and True that sat on this white horse. The rider goes out and judges in righteousness and makes war. His eyes were like flames of fire. His head held many crowns, and he had a name written on him that no man knew except for himself. His robe that he wore was dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of the Father, which we know to be the Messiah. And the armies of heaven, the soldiers of heaven, followed him on their white horses as well, clothed in white, clean linen. Out of his mouth, out of the mouth of the Messiah, went a sharp sword that he used to strike the nations. He ruled these nations with iron rod and treaded the people, like trampled over the people with the wrath of the Father. And on his robe, on the thigh, was written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. John then saw an angel standing in the sun who tells the birds of the air to prepare to receive a supper from the Father. So now it says the birds of the air, so like birds of prey. These are birds that eat flesh. So he's telling the birds, like vultures essentially, telling them to prepare themselves because the Father is giving them food to eat. They will eat, according to the text, the flesh of kings, captains, mighty men, the flesh of horses, and all of those that ride those horses, the flesh of all men. John saw the beast. He saw the kings of the earth, and he saw their armies, and they were all gathered together to make war with the Messiah and his army. So they had come together, all the kings of this earth that we just talked about, with the Babylon and the mystery, Babylon, the prostitute, and all those things. They had all come together and to make war with the Messiah and with his army. The beast was then captured. The false prophet was captured with him, and both of them were thrown into the lake of the fire, burning with brimstone. They were thrown alive into this lake of fire. We need to remember here that there were three things. There was the devil, there was the beast, and there was the false prophet. The beast and the false prophet are now gone. They're in the lake of fire, burning with brimstone. The devil is still here. There's something we'll talk about in a second. All the rest of the army that has gathered themselves following after the beast and the false prophet and the devil, all this army, it says, was killed with the sword that came out of the mouth of the Messiah, the one that sat upon the throne, that sat upon the horse. And the birds fed on their bodies down in this valley when they came across the Euphrates that was dried up to try to make war against the Messiah. Okay, let's keep going in chapter 20. After all of this, John says that he saw an angel come down from heaven with the key to the bottomless pit, a heavy chain in his hand. This angel took the dragon, which is the devil, bound him, put a chain on, tied him up for 1,000 years in the pit, and until the 1,000 years were over, so that he could be released for a little time. So the devil's going to be thrown down into the pit with this chain on. He's going to be bound in that thing for 1,000 years, and then after 1,000 years, he's going to be released, but only for a little period of time. After this, John said he saw thrones and he saw people sitting on them, and those that were sitting on the thrones were given authority to judge. And these were those these were the souls of those that have been beheaded for the witness of the Messiah and for the message of the Father, the testimony of the Father. They had not worshipped the beast or received his image or received the mark. And these people lived and reigned with the Messiah for 1,000 years. The rest of those who had died but did not fulfill these requirements, the rest of those who had died did not come back to life at this period of time. They came back to life after the 1,000 years was over. This, John defines, is the first resurrection. Blessed are those who have part in the first resurrection, for to them the second death has no power. But they, those who were a part of the first resurrection, will be priests of the Father and will reign with the Messiah for 1,000 years. After the 1,000 years are up, the text says that Satan will be loosed out of the prison and will go and deceive the nations called Gog and Magog. This means that there are still people who do not believe after this 1,000 years up, after all this has happened. So the first war was Armageddon. This here is Gog and Magog. The enemy is going and deceiving these nations called Gog and Magog. He's deceiving them into coming together for another battle, to joining his army to go to another battle. The text says that this army will be as large as the sand of the sea. So they're going to get as many, like that's how many people are going to try to come up again this next time for this battle. It's going to be so many soldiers, it's going to look like the sand of the sea. This army comes up for war. They surround the believers and the beloved city. But it says, the text goes on to say that fire comes down from the Father in heaven and devours them. That the devil was cast into the lake of fire where the beast and the prophet already are. And there they will be tormented night and day forever and ever. John then saw a great white throne and the Father sitting on it. He saw that heaven and earth had fled from his presence, but there was no place for them to hide. The heaven and earth tried to run away from the Father, but there was nowhere for them to hide. John then sees the dead, all of them, small and great, stand before the Father, and the books were open. So after the books were open, John says that another book, singular, was open, and this is the book of life. And the people, all the people who came before the Father, were judged according to the things which were written in the books, according to their works. Those who died in the sea were judged, and those that were already in death and hell were judged according to their works. And from here, death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. So death and hell are not the same as the lake of fire, according to the text. From here, as part of the great white throne judgment, as part of this judgment, the Father took death and hell and cast it into the lake of fire, and all of those who were aligned with it. And this is defined in the text as the second death, whose ever name was to be found in the book was not found in the book of life, was thrown into the lake of fire. Listen now. Whoever's name was not found in the book of life was thrown into the lake of fire, according to the text. After this, John chapter 21, John sees a new heaven and a new earth. The first heaven and the first earth were gone. The sea was gone as well. John also sees the holy city, New Jerusalem, descending from the Father out of heaven, prepared as a bride dressed for her husband. He hears a voice in heaven saying, "Behold, the tabernacle of the Father is now with men, and he will dwell with them, and they will be his people, and he will be their Father. The Father will wipe away all the tears from their eyes. There will be no more death, no more sorrow, no more crying, no more pain, because these things will all be passed away. And the one sitting on the throne will make all these things new." He, the one sitting on the throne, is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. Those that are thirsty can come to him, and he will give them freely of the water of life. Those that overcome these things will inherit all things. But the fearful, unbelieving, abominable, murderers, whoremongers, sorcerers, idolaters, and all liars, the text says, will have place in the lake of fire, which is the second death. After this, John is taken in the spirit and shown the new Jerusalem. It shined, according to John, it shined like the glory of the Father. And the light that was shining, the light that was coming off of it was like a precious jasper stone, clear as crystal. The city had a wall surrounding it with 12 gates. The 12 gates were guarded by 12 angels, and the 12 gates had the names of the 12 tribes of Israel written on the gates. There were 3 gates on each side: east side, west side, north side, and south side. This is the same way that the Father told them to camp around the temple that we saw over in the Old Testament, in Exodus and Deuteronomy and Leviticus and whatnot. The wall then had 12 foundation stones. The wall surrounding the city had 12 foundation stones with the names of the 12 apostles on them. And the angel that John was with had a gold measuring stick in his hand to measure the city, its walls, and its gates. You can go look up those measurements. The wall that was surrounding the city was made of jasper. The city was like pure gold or clear glass. The foundations of the wall were filled with 12 types of precious stones. All 12 of the gates were made of pearls, each one made from a single pearl. The street of the city was pure gold, and it was transparent like glass. There was no temple in the city, for the Father and the Messiah are the temple of that city at that point. There is no need for sun there or moon, because the Father and his Messiah are the light. They provide the light for the city. The gates are never shut, and no evil will be allowed to enter, and only those whose name are written in the Lamb's book of life are able to come in and are able to reside there. Think about this. In the beginning, in the garden, when man sinned, the fathers put them out of this garden, and placed a flaming sword there, placed an enclosure, a gate of sorts there. But now that everything has run its course, the Father's will has been done. Now this city that is probably very similar to the garden, um, in its purpose and whatnot, this city, the gates are now open. They will never be shut. The Father has redeemed it all from the beginning. Let's keep going into chapter 22 and finish up. John was then shown a river with the water of life, clear as crystal, flowing from the throne of the Father and the Messiah. And there was a street that followed the path of the river, and on each side of the river was a tree of life that bear 12 types of fruit. Each month there was a fresh fruit that it bore, that it produced. The leaves on this tree were used for medicine to heal the nations. No longer was there any curse, but the throne of the Father and the Messiah will be there, and the servants will worship forever. They will see his face, and they will have his name on their foreheads. The angel then tells John that these sayings are faithful and true, and they will happen soon. For the Messiah says, "Behold, I come quickly." He comes quickly. John again falls at the feet of the angel in worship, and he tells him again, or this might be a different angel, but he's told again to not worship him because he's a servant, just like him. The book closes. The book, not only the chapter 22, but also the entire book of Revelation that John is writing to us. It closes with John being told not to seal these things, so to make them widely known, that were said in this prophecy, for the time is coming and is near, and the Father, the Messiah, is coming soon. This message has come by the angel from the Messiah to the churches, what the text says as John closes. And the Spirit and the bride are saying, "Come." They're saying that to the Messiah. All those who are thirsty, come and drink freely of the water of life that is available from the throne of the Father and the Messiah. All those who hear the words of this prophecy and add to it, the Father will cause the plagues that are found here to fall on them. And if any man take away from these words, according to John, the Father will take his share out of the book of life. He closes with this: the Father is coming quickly, to which John responds, "Even so, come Messiah." And that is finished. It is finished. But no, that is the end of the book of Revelation. That is the end of our that is the completion of our assignment to walk through the entirety of the Bible, book by book and chapter by chapter in one calendar year. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for joining and taking part of the assignment with me, with us, and committing to it. I pray that the Father has revealed himself to you in ways that you never imagined. I pray that his word, you have found a new love and hunger for his word. And I pray that the Father would honor your obedience and your sacrifice in doing this. All right. I love you, but more importantly than that, the Father loves you. Okay. Let him love you. Start before you're ready, and don't stop. I'll catch you guys next time.